All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming back for our rulemaking hearing.
Okay, thanks.
As soon as I call the meeting to order, we can get started. So I'm waiting for 1 o'clock. One meeting, 1 minute.
So precise.
Never know.
Should have a countdown.
Can we?
I think we can start.
Okay. So we have all parties in the room and online. So I am going to call this meeting to order at 12:59 p.m. and we can go ahead and get started.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I wanted just to note to the parties, ooh, that's a fun feedback moment, to the parties that I will be keeping time. They all know their time allocations, but I will remind them. And if they would like me to reserve any time for rebuttal or any other statements they'd like to make on the record following their direct case, I'm happy to do that when I divide their time up. And I wanted to remind the members of the board that this is now an uncontested rulemaking with the change adopted by CWCB staff that was proposed by CPW. Thank you all very much.
Good afternoon, Kaylee White for CWCB staff. I'm here to provide staff testimony for the rulemaking hearing to revise the in-stream flow rules to implement just Section 2 of Senate Bill 24-197. So a little background on this new statute. The rulemaking is to amend just Rule 6K regarding temporary loans of water for in-stream flow use. So the in-stream flow rules are codified at 2 CCR 4082, and this is to implement just Section 2 of Senate Bill 197. It will be codified at 3783-1051C. The full Senate bill was to implement proposals of the Colorado River Drought Task Force. The entire Section 2 is up on the screen here. It's pretty short, but the new law allows temporary loans of stored water, which we already had a right to do, but this is for in-stream flow use on a stream reach where we do not already have a decreed in-stream flow water right. So our last rulemaking was in 2021, and the reason that I'm mentioning this is because that was a pretty big overhaul of the temporary loan statute and the rules. And so that was to implement changes from the same statute, number 3783-105, to change the temporary loan availability to use it from 3 years and 10 years to now use it for 5 years in a 10-year period, and it's renewable for 2 additional 10-year periods. So it added significant notice and review procedures because that administrative review process could be used a lot more often. So that was a pretty big rulemaking, and we're tacking onto that one. So the timeline for this 2025 rulemaking, we started informal rulemaking back in November of 24. We had 2 stakeholder meetings, one virtual and one in person, in December of 24 and January 25. Formal rulemaking began in March of this year. Secretary of State published the draft revised rules in the Colorado Register on April 10th. And the hearing was set for today. We have 4 parties, including staff. Pre-hearing statements and written testimonies were submitted, and at this meeting, the board may adopt these revised rules at the conclusion of this hearing. And then we will publish the final rules in the Colorado Register, and they become effective 20 days after that publication. That will either become available in August or September of this year. So in the public comment period, during the informal rulemaking process, we had some comments from Division of Water Resources. They requested some edits, which we included in the first draft, which was published in the Colorado Register. And after those draft revisions were published, during the pre-hearing statement process, we had some comments from Colorado Parks and Wildlife regarding those same edits. So what we did is we had staff get together amongst Parks and Wildlife, CWCB, and Division of Water Resources to discuss the concerns and how we could resolve the requirements and the language in the rules. So we worked out the new language and it's included in CPW's pre-hearing statement. Staff had already submitted their pre-hearing statement, so we have a supplemental that has the new language in it, and I will present that new language. It's a very small edit, but important. So the revised rules with the agreed upon CPW edits are included in the staff supplemental pre-hearing statement and the written testimony, which we will talk about today. So briefly, the existing law allows the administrative approval, Division of Water Resources approval. It does not have to go to water court for these temporary loans for in-stream flow use. We could already use stored water or direct flow water. Could be loaned to CWCB for in-stream flow use, but only where we had a decreed in-stream flow water rate. So the existing law allows the water to be used in an expedited loan, where you can use it just in the year of the approval only, or in a renewable, which is a much longer process for to preserve or improve the natural environment. And because we're doing the preserve up to the rates of the existing in-stream flow, there was an ability to improve the natural environment. So there's already a process for the board to establish those flow rates. And so we're relying on that biological analysis and those findings in our rules, in this new rule. I'll explain that in just a minute. So also the existing rules direct the CWCB's procedure for noticing, for evaluating, for requesting Division of Water Resources approval, making findings, for accepting the loans. So this new law adds, as I presented back a couple months ago, just the ability to accept the loans. It can be expedited or renewable, stored water only, within the reaches where we do not already have an in-stream flow. We use the existing procedures to make those findings on the flow rate, the time period, and the reaches of stream. We rely on, the existing rules and procedures, and the new statute does require us to promulgate rules, which we're doing here. I'm going to give you a 2-minute history. I went over this previous board meeting, but 3783-105, so this is not, 3792, this is not the 69 Act statute where our permanent acquisitions, the guidance lies. So this is just the temporaries. Article 3783 was regarding exchange of water. The original 105 was written for temporary ag-to-ag loans, and that was before the in-stream flow program came about. So we came about in 1973. So we didn't have a temporary approval process back then, but in response to the 2002 drought in 2003, the General Assembly added an ability for CWCB to accept temporary loans to help those dry streams. So back in 2003, the statute added that we could have the administrative process to approve a 3 years and a 10-year period to use the water for in-stream flow. But in 2020, that statute was modified to allow the expedited and then the 5 and 10 and the renewable. And so that's the rulemaking that I mentioned earlier. Now in 2024, we added the ability the ability was added by the General Assembly to allow just the stored water rights to be released and protected in a reach where we don't have an in-stream flow. So turning to our rules, Rule 6 regards acquisitions of water rates, or interest in water for in-stream flow purposes. So in general, our rules cover the appropriations, the legal protection, and the acquisitions. So the long-term and permanent acquisitions occur pursuant to Article 92, 3792, and that requires water court judicial approval, which we have a couple of those pending now before you. But this is just regarding the temporary loans, and that's just administrative approval, does not need to go to water court. So Rule 6K governs those procedures for the temporary loans. It requires additional notices, longer comment period. There is a Division of Water Resources procedure that's outlined in the statute. That's not going to be in our rules because we're CWCB rules, not Division of Water Resources rules. So we mention what our requirements are to present an application to Division of Water Resources in our rules, and you'll see that in just a minute. And finally, Rule 6M governs our procedure for public involvement, and that's for all types of acquisitions. So here's our revisions to Rule 6K. In this rulemaking, we're adding the authority and the requirements to accept those loans pursuant to this new section 1051C. This is where Division of Water Resources to add submittal documentation requirements. So these are the comments that they had early, and then Parks and Wildlife has some comments on top of that. And so where we've ended up is that those documentation requirements must include an analysis of the historical diversions to the storage and/or releases of the loaned water right for its decreed beneficial uses as relevant in whichever acquisition is before us. So I highlighted in red, those are the new phrase that we added after working with Division of Water Resources and Parks and Wildlife. So it was historical diversions to storage and/or releases. Let's see, thirdly, we added a process for the board to make those findings regarding the flow rate, the time period, the new reach of stream, where the flows were going to be, where the releases were going to be used. And it adds restrictions on the use, which shall not extend beyond those flow rates, those time periods, those reaches that are determined by the board to be necessary to preserve and improve the natural environment to a reasonable degree. That's my acronym, NERD. Natural environment, reasonable degree, which is our statutory obligation. So I'll go ahead and say the staff recommendation, and then we have other parties that will testify, and we'll come back to this, but the recommendation that we're going to ask you for, unless somebody opposes, is that we recommend the board adopt the amended in-stream flow rules and proposed statement of basis and purpose, which include the Parks and Wildlife edits that's going to be attached to the staff supplemental pre-hearing statement as exhibits A and B. There is an exhibit C and D, and that shows you the incremental changes since the last draft.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Director Combs?
Yes, thank you. So on DWR's recommendation for an analysis to show what? Just quantify it? Do they want a 20-year summation, a trending? They're asking for an analysis that determines what?
Yeah, I was thinking that data, what data do you have regarding your diversions and your and releases? I guess it's going to be an iterative process, potentially.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay.
Just for the record, staff has 17 minutes and 45 seconds left for response.
Thank you.
Next in the order is the Colorado Water Trust. Great. Thank you. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's fine, thanks. Good afternoon, and thank you, members of the board. For the record, my name is Josh Boissevain, and I am a staff attorney with the Colorado Water Trust. Just a little bit of background on who we are. We're a Colorado nonprofit, and our mission is to restore flows to the state's rivers and streams. Since our beginning in 2001, we've completed 27 flow restoration projects, and many of those were in partnership with the CWCB and the Instream flow program. As part of this work, the Water Trust has significant experience developing and implementing projects under the temporary loan program. We've worked with water rights owners, the CWCB, and other partners to implement 8 temporary loan approvals from DWR since 2012, and we are currently pursuing or investigating another 3. The Water Trust strongly supports the revised proposed amendments to the Rule K. First, these amendments are consistent with the statutory language of SB 197 and with the General Assembly's intent in amending the statute. Second, the amendments are the result of robust outreach, stakeholder input, and deliberate drafting. Finally, the amendments will provide greater opportunities and flexibility for us at the Water Trust to work with water users who want to engage in temporary stream flow restoration projects using their water rights. The first 2 points will have been well covered today, so I will spare you all kind of repeating what others will have said by the end of today's hearing. But I do want to add a few words about how this change impacts the Water Trust's work specifically. Through our request for water process, Water Trust staff have encountered on several occasions the specific scenario that the statutory and rule updates are intended to address, where you have an owner of stored water rights who has come to us interested in using their water to help restore flows to a local stream. But in our review of those water rights and the stream conditions, we find there's no decreed in-stream flow reach to loan that offered water to. In such circumstances, Water Trust staff have generally only been able to suggest other tools that are less protective as an alternative, such as the water conservation program, or worse, we've had to turn away that offer entirely. There are many places around the state where CWCB does not have a decreed in-stream flow right, but that stream is still in need during certain times of the year. Similarly, there are willing water rights owners out there who want to use their stored water to restore flows, but so far have not had a mechanism to do so. This update to the in-stream flow program further helps make those connections, matching both need and water. Not only does this update allow the Colorado Water Trust to work in more locations across the state, it also gives us one more tool in our tool belt to help water rights owners to use their water to restore and protect streams and to do so within the prior appropriation system. Therefore, and in summary, the Water Trust supports the amendments to the in-stream flow rules. And with that, I'll yield the rest of my time, but before I close, I do want to acknowledge and share the Water Trust's appreciation for CWCB's staff's tireless efforts through this process. Staff did an excellent job in drafting these rules amendments and were very responsive to Water Trust's and others' feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none.
Next, we have Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
Good afternoon. Katie Birch, Colorado Parks and Wildlife In-Stream Flow Program Coordinator. I will describe CPW's interests and role in the In-Stream Flow Loan Program, and then I'll turn it over to Elizabeth Joyce, our attorney. CPW's mission is to perpetuate the fish and wildlife resources of the state and to provide sustainable outdoor recreation for the benefit of all Coloradans and visitors to the state. Our policies and programs direct staff to develop and protect a wide range of aquatic resources. In support of this, we own water rights and interests in water that are managed for the benefit of the public. CPW seeks to use our water rights to sustain fish and wildlife populations across the state, both in reservoirs and on properties owned by CPW, but also in stream, irrespective of land ownership. CPW has a statutorily prescribed role in the in-stream flow loan program and participates to preserve and protect fisheries and other natural environments of interest. We benefit from flexible use of water rights under the in-stream flow loan program. When implemented appropriately, the loan program is an important mechanism to advance our mission. So CPW participates in the in-stream flow loan program in two main capacities. First, we provide biological analysis to CWCB staff to help the board make findings regarding the flow rates, time periods, and stream reaches appropriate to preserve and improve the natural environment to a reasonable degree. We have provided our biological analysis on many temporary in-stream flow and loan and lease proposals. With the proposed rule revisions, CPW will continue to provide recommendations to the board regarding renewable and expedited loans. But in cases of stream reaches without a decreed in-stream flow right, additional investigation may be necessary. This could include field investigations, literature review, or utilizing information from consultants or other project partners. Second, CPW has a history of utilizing the in-stream flow loan program with our own water rights to benefit and alleviate stress on aquatic habitats during low flow periods. We have completed 2 in-stream flow loans, 1 expedited loan and 1 renewable loan, which is still in place and can be used to help the fishery on the White River when flows are low and temperatures are high. The proposed rule revisions expand CPW's and our partners' abilities to work with the CWCB for loans of water to help support the state's fisheries and stream segments lacking an in-stream flow right. Many of these stream segments are in need of flow supplementation to alleviate stress on those aquatic habitats. We are supportive of the rule revisions as an entity who seeks to use the new tool and as an entity who will be involved and directly benefit from others' use of the tool. And I'll turn it to Elizabeth.
So I'm Elizabeth Joyce. I'm with the Attorney General's Office, and I'm representing CPW, and I'm going to bring us a little more specifically to the rules that you are considering today. So as you've already heard, the proposed rule revisions are targeted at changes to incorporate SB 197, which expanded the in-stream flow loan program to allow the owner of a decreed storage right to loan water to the board for a stream reach for which there is not an existing in-stream flow water right. CPW supports these goals, which will make the in-stream flow loan program more widespread and flexible while maintaining adequate protections for water users. CPW believes staff's proposed rules are consistent with the intent of the in-stream flow program generally and are tailored to implement changes enacted in SB 197. So as you also heard, we did propose one modification to the rules as part of this rulemaking, so I'm going to talk about that a little specifically. We did propose revisions to Rule 6K1B and Rule 6K2F. We appreciate having the opportunity to work with staff to incorporate our suggested revisions, and they are included in the final proposal that you're considering today. As a little context, our edits relate to the information that are provided to DWR as part of their regular review of all loans to ensure that those can be administered. CPW owns water rights which are decreed for many different but beneficial uses, including storage rights that are used primarily in reservoir, as well as for release for subsequent use. And in the past, we have worked with CWCB to loan those water rights. The purpose of our edits was to ensure that the language of what is provided to DWR is inclusive of storage rights that are used for both in-reservoir use and release for subsequent beneficial use downstream. CWCB staff and the other parties have supported CPW's edits. And as Kaylee mentioned, because these edits were to a section that DWR had previously commented on, we reached out to them to ensure that they were supportive as well. And for all these reasons, we request that the board adopt the proposed rule revisions presented by staff today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Director Feld?
Just clarification, something you said there at the end, I hadn't really thought about it being included in this. So your proposed modification then allows for the temporary loan of stored water to achieve the NERD, I guess you'd say, within a reservoir in addition to downstream uses? Or is it only for release?
The use for the in-stream flow loan program and for the beneficial uses in stream are only when they're released to that stream reach. My reference was to water rights that are in a reservoir that are decreed and used primarily in reservoir, as opposed to storage rights that are diverted, stored, held, and then released for subsequent use. And maybe to fill in the gap there, the revision that we had proposed was just to ensure that the information that DWR is looking at includes the range of records that would exist for rights that are decreed and diverted into storage, as well as released. The first draft just focused on the records of release, and when the water right is used in reservoir, you might not have those records. So we just wanted to ensure that it included both types of use.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Next, we have Western Resource Advocates et al. I believe one of their representatives is online, and they have 10 minutes.
And there is also one of our representatives here at the meeting. This is John Siren. I am the senior staff attorney for Western Resource Advocates. And for the purposes of this hearing only, we're representing also Conservation Colorado, Audubon, and Trout Unlimited. All of us support the adoption of the amended Instream flow rules and the proposed statement of basis and purpose, and we support the modifications proposed by CPW. To provide a little more detail on this, Orla Bannon, from Western Resource Advocates is going to provide testimony, and to make this more efficient, her testimony will be on behalf of all four of WRA et al., which is Western Resource Advocates, Trout Unlimited, Conservation Colorado, and the Audubon Society. So with that, I'll turn it over to Orla Bannon, who I believe is there with you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board members, staff, and Madam Hearing Officer. For the record, my name is Orla Bannon. I am the Policy Manager for State Policy and Engagement for the Healthy Rivers Program at Western Resource Advocates. As John mentioned, I'm speaking today on behalf of WRA, Conservation Colorado, National Audubon Society, and Trout Unlimited. Conservation Colorado works to protect our state's climate, air, land, water, and communities through organizing and advocacy. National Audubon Society is an inclusive, nonpartisan bird conservation organization that collaborates with diverse stakeholders to further its mission of protecting birds and the places they need, including Colorado's rivers and streams today and tomorrow. Trout Unlimited is a nationwide nonprofit fisheries conservation organization. The mission of Trout Unlimited is to conserve and restore cold water fisheries and rivers and the creeks on which they depend. Western Resource Advocates is a nonprofit conservation organization dedicated to fighting climate change and its impacts on the West's land, air, and rivers. We promote river restoration and water conservation and advocate for a clean and sustainable energy future and protect public lands for present and future generations. First of all, I would like to thank the CWCB staff and the staff of the Attorney General's Office for all their incredible work, dedicated outreach, and thoughtful input on these rule changes. Climate change and recent droughts highlight the need for more ways to address low flow events and resultant negative impacts upon the natural environments of our rivers and streams. Models show that climate change and historic drought will continue to affect Colorado in coming years. As this board well knows, the average flow of the Colorado River across the basin has declined 20% over the last 20 years, largely due to climate change, which is causing warming temperatures, diminished rainfall, increased evaporation, and a snowpack that's shrinking and melting earlier. WRA was a member of the Colorado River Drought Task Force established under Senate Bill 23295 and discussed this proposed modification to the CWCB's leasing authority with the task force. The task force approved the proposed modification as a part of the task force recommendations. The provisions related to CWCB's leasing authority were one of several recommendations ultimately included in Senate Bill 24197. This statutory modification to the CWCB's existing leasing authority allows the CWCB to approve loans necessary to address important flow needs of a stream or river where the CWCB does not currently hold an in-stream flow water right, while also including a robust review process to condition such loans as necessary to preserve or improve the natural environment to a reasonable degree and protecting the interests of existing water users. The purpose of this rulemaking proceeding is to modify the existing rules to reflect the statutory change, and we believe the rules proposed by the CWCB staff in this rulemaking proceeding, as modified by Colorado Parks and Wildlife, do accurately and fully effectuate the General Assembly's intent in passing Section 2 of Senate Bill 24-197, and we strongly support their adoption. CWCB staff wisely relied on the CWCB's existing rules governing loans, making only minimal modifications where necessary to provide for loans to benefit streams without existing in-stream flow water rights. Similarly, these proposed rules maintain existing language and utilize established procedures for state engineer review of CWCB loans to ensure protection of Colorado's water users. This approach ensures that this rulemaking proceeding will leverage existing known procedures with only minimal impact to current processes. Colorado's streams and rivers are facing unprecedented challenges, both from increased demand and the effects of climate change. In the face of these challenges, the CWCB's in-stream flow loan program is one of our state's most important tools. The implementation of Senate Bill 24-197 helps protect Colorado's streams while maintaining existing protections to ensure water users are not injured. Accordingly, on behalf of the approximately 60,000 members, supporters, and employees of WRA, Conservation Colorado, National Audubon Society, and Trout Unlimited, we ask the board to adopt CWCB staff proposed rules as modified by Colorado Parks and Wildlife, implementing Senate Bill 24-197, providing the CWCB with greater flexibility to manage in-stream flows and all those dependent upon them. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none. Thank you.
CWCB staff.
Kaylee White, CWCB staff, here for, I guess, officially it's a rebuttal, but I don't think anyone else has a rebuttal. So our rebuttal is staff recommendation. And that is that CWCB staff recommends the board adopt the amended in-stream flow rules and the proposed statement of basis and purpose, which include CPW edits that were attached to the staff's supplemental pre-hearing statement as exhibits A and B. And one more addition, this is the last copy of the rules that we printed. Since everything's, online now, we haven't printed a paper copy lately. This is from 2009. We plan on printing another fresh copy as soon as these are adopted and effective.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Director Hawes.
Yeah, I just want to thank CWCB staff and all the parties that participated in this. It seems like it was a really collaborative and thoughtful process and responding to the drought task force. So I'll be ready to make a motion whenever. I'll move staff recommendation to approve.
Oh, before we do that, I just wanted to formally close the record.
Okay.
For the rulemaking, and please go ahead.
Okay, I'll move staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Director Hawes, second by Director Vasquez. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Y'all, don't you think September is going to be just that easy? Come on now.
It will be. Okay, we're complete.
Yes, the record is closed. The vote has been made. The
Okay.
rulemaking is now over.
So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Director Johnson. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Director Nguyen. Motion made in second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Meeting in